I don't need it.
Okay.
Welcome, Chuck.
How you doing, guys?
Chuck Sullivan. In the flesh.
Yes, I am.
Well, welcome to the Behind Bars podcast, man.
Nice. I'm just glad I'm not behind bars, literally.
So, Chuck, tell us what's your deal.
My deal? I don't have a deal. My deal is I'm stupid enough to be in the restaurant business / bar business.
You Sullivan's and
Sully's Irish Pub at the Witherspoon from Middletown, Delaware. We are the oldest tavern in the state of Delaware. Wow. And started in 1761. Found it completely by accident. Found out the history completely by accident. And then thought it would be a really good idea to capitalize on it. That's where
so
we are.
you didn't know any of that prior going into that building?
No. It was a white trash shithole for 60 years. It's a beautiful Victorian hotel from 1844 until 1946. The hotel burned down in 1946 on Valentine's Day, and they only had enough money to open the first floor. And it, like I said, it just operated as a little package store and a little neighborhood bar, seedy clientele. And when I took it over, I found out there was so much more.
Wow. What was it called when you bought it?
When I took it over, it was Captain Witherspoon's.
Okay.
The original name is David Witherspoon's. Okay. David Witherspoon started the tavern in 1761, and that name has been intertwined in the title for all those years.
Wow.
Yeah, even when it was the hotel, even when Captain Ron owned it, when I have it, it's not Sully's Irish Pub, it's Sully's Irish Pub at the Witherspoon.
Interesting.
Yeah, it had a horrible reputation when I took over, so I knew that I wanted to change the name, which my tavern in Ohio was Sully's, but I needed to keep a piece of that history until I could uncover it.
Right on. So tell us a little bit about your history in was it Youngstown, right?
Yeah, Youngstown, Ohio. Played football in high school, got a scholarship to play at Youngstown State University. All you Philly people, I followed Ron Jaworski and Paul McFadden. They both are Penguins. That's our alma mater. And went out there, and I've always been in the restaurant business. Worked as a bartender and a waiter all through college, as a kid in high school. And that's the business I wanted to get into, and it worked out. So there I was, Youngstown, opened up a joint. Here I am today.
And how old were you?
At that time, I was 26.
Okay.
And I got a college degree in business, went to Philadelphia, worked as a sales rep. And it was funny because I took an entrepreneurial class in college, and they talked about it being an extension of yourself. So while I'm working this marketing gig, this sales gig in Philly, I had curtains that I had bought for my apartment. And all I wanted to do was go home and hang these curtains because the apartment was an extension of myself. And I thought to myself, if I open up my own business, hanging curtains, I would technically be at work. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to own my own shop. Wow. And so I quit my job that day and I went back out to Youngstown and I started tending bar at the local Colonial House. It was an Irish mob joint. And I just kept sniffing, looking for places I was looking for a place that was undervalued because I had no money.
Sure.
I was looking for a place that was in disrepair, that I knew was in a good location that I could turn around. So that's what I found eventually.
So how much money did you have to put down that first time?
Zero.
No,
I walked
right in.
I walked in the door. It's actually a great story. So the guy, one of the local mobsters, if you will, Champ, he's crying.
Champ, what a name.
And he's got a joint, but it's not making any money. And the vending location, the pool, that's what he was. He was in the vending business, but he took over the establishment because he wanted to keep it going. Exactly. And so anyway, he's crying the blues. He says, look, I got a good location, but I can't get nobody running correctly. They keep stealing. They're not doing right. And my buddy Pat Man, says, there's your answer. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, Sully, he just graduated from Youngstown State. He's got a business degree, and he's been in the bar business his whole life.
And what year was this?
1992.
Wow. So
Yeah.
all right. So your guys in the vending business, right?
My,
so
my customer.
So I'm assuming that what was it the draw poker machines? Was he?
No,
done?
no, it was a pool table. A
Okay, that's
jukebox.
it. He wasn't into the,
And then
the
he
gambling.
did the touch tunes. They had gambling, but not in this joint. This joint was a public joint.
Okay.
Yes, all of the ITAMs, which is an Italian American club, or the Eagles or the Moose Lodge, they all had illegal joints, but this wasn't that.
Got it.
And so, long story short, I walked through the door. The place is a crap hole, but it was really cool because it actually set my motto for my business. When I went in there, they had fights, drugs, underage. The beer was warm, and everybody was shitty.
Sounds like a place I want to buy.
Yeah. So
That's great.
I said, well,
You could fix 3 of those.
Well, I literally walked in and said, this is my motto. No fights, no drugs, no underage. Keep the beer ice cold and be nice to people.
You can't lose.
And I've done that for 30 years.
Wow.
And made money that way. I didn't do it on purpose. I fixed the 5 problems that were in that building, and those happened to be a staple that you could use across anywhere.
That's wild. So I'm assuming you did well for quite some time.
Oh,
out
I was
there.
a good earner. They referred to me as a good earner.
That's great.
The jukebox went from doing $50 a week to $500. The pool table went from doing $100 a week to $800. So
And that was at a quarter a play back then, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And what happened was, so after a few months, I said, "This is what we're going to do. I'll run the place like it's mine. We're going to split everything 50-50. At the end of 2 years, I want to own the whiskey portion. You can keep your vending, but I want to own the bar." And so at the end of 2 years, everything was going good. I walked in and said, well, here's the deal. We're 50-50 partners, so I'm only going to give you half. And I'm not going to give you $1 for the business because I made the business. I am going to give you 50% of the stools, the TVs, the tables, the chairs, etc. And that came to X amount of dollars. I put the money, cash, in a Purple Crown Royal bag. I threw it across the table. I said, there's your half. The bar's mine. The vending is yours for the next 5 years, 100%. At the end of 5 years, I want my 50-50 cut.
Right on.
He opened up the bag and he goes, stand up. And that's when I got a little scared because he was a mobster. And I'm like, yeah. And he says, give me a hug. He says, you're a good man. You never stole. You were honest. He says, we have a deal. And we shook hands, and next thing you know, I owned a pub.
Wow.
That's how I got into business.
Did you bartend?
Now, where was that? That was
Oh, yeah.
Youngstown, right?
Youngstown. Warren, Ohio, just outside of Youngstown.
Steel
It
belt,
was the
right?
That's like us being in Philly.
It was the
Delco.
Delco of Philly. Yes.
Right on, right on. So tell us a little bit of like what that town was like then, because it's a steel belt, right? So at that time,
yes, we had just gotten out of the Depression. It was in transition. When it was a steel town, it was booming.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the mills were going so great. People that had homes that were close to the mills would pave their front yard to make it a parking lot. They would knock down a couple of walls on the first floor. The kitchen would feed, they'd build a bar in their living room, and they'd have a room upstairs that they lived in, and they opened up bars like that. Like,
Wow.
there's a million places that I went. And all I ever wanted to do was be one of those places, that just a mom and pop shop that, people, everyone knew everybody, and, it was very cool. So,
wild.
yeah. And I feel like I got that now in
you
Delaware.
do, you definitely do.
Yeah.
Nice.
So when was the move out to here?
So what happened was I ran that joint for 10 years, and at the end of 10 years, I was done. It was in a kind of a crappy town, and I didn't want to be there anymore. So I left, and I managed a sports bar in Florida, in Delray Beach, the Brews Room Sports Grill. It was Buffalo Wild Wings done correctly. The girls were gorgeous. The food was delicious. The TVs were high def. It was great. And I did that for like a year, and then I got what my buddy called I-95 fever. I just didn't like Florida, so I went back north, and I opened up a place in Cincinnati, outside of Cincinnati. And then one day in a meeting about trying to get that place together, my parents were all in South Jersey in this area. I call this whole area, South Philly, South Jersey, Delaware, all one area. And I said, you know what? I want to come home. and I looked everywhere. I looked in Princeton, New Jersey, and Havre de Grace, Maryland. I looked in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and I kept going through Middletown. And I heard about the growth, and then somehow this place fell into my lap.
Wow.
But it was cool because when I first went in there, I walked out and I told my cousin, I said, you couldn't give me that place. And a year and a half later, I signed a contract to take it over. So I thought that was pretty funny.
I'll tell you what, man. You know what's cool about that? Like, I literally, if I had to pick one building to have a bar in that town, that would be it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the building.
Yes.
It was built in 1761. I actually met PJ's mother there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was very cool. So this little beautiful lady comes into the pub and she gets to talking to me. And well, my bartender said, you need to talk to that lady. She's cool. She used to own a bar. Yeah. I'm like, all right. And so we get to chit chatting and she goes, yeah, my boy, he runs my shop. You know, my husband, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, man, I got to come check you out sometime. And then sure enough, then I meet Joe McGee and he introduces me to his buddy PJ. And PJ goes,
crazy.
You know my mother.
Crazy.
So that was really cool.
How did you two meet?
We met, what was it, Cheryl, right? One of my old managers.
Yeah, I
was
came
coming from
down-
a Philly show. I thought she came.
Oh, she came to Marty's, I think. And
Yes.
then I was like, yeah, I have an Irish band. We should come and play Sully's. And
Yes.
That's
And she was like, you two need to meet. She, she doesn't work for me anymore, but she gave me a home run.
Wow.
She introduced me to Joe McGee.
that's
so
Jesus.
cool. And how long ago was that?
5, 6?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're kindred spirits. Like when you look at I literally on my phone have a picture of this building, Marty McGee's, before Joe took it over, and the way it looks
It's
today.
amazing, isn't it?
And I have a picture of my building, and I'm not done with mine yet, and the way it looks today, and the transformations are phenomenal.
Yeah, it's cool.
Pardon
it's really
me.
cool.
That's what's fun. So you made, significant changes early on. And then, when you first bought the place, then you had a renovation.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I first took over, I just tried to clean it up. Like I ripped out the 8-foot drop ceiling and exposed the 13-foot high ceilings. There was big beams that I exposed. It was all about trying to give it an old school, old world, rustic feeling, which I feel like.
Yeah, you're there.
And there was times where I actually got tired, and a good friend of mine, Johnny Murphy, he said to me, he said, Sully, he goes, you can get a Miller Lite anywhere in town. He goes, but you can't get it into a rustic Irish pub. He says, you got to create the atmosphere. So I re-energized and I continued. But what happened was it still wasn't what I wanted, just like you. Like this dude right here, you know that.
Yep.
He is never satisfied. and I'm kind of the same guy. So I wanted a hardwood floor. We got a reclaimed barn siding that came from a Jim Beam barrel house in Kentucky that they tore down. And that's what our floor is made of. I rebuilt my bar. It's the original bar, but I just rebuilt it, moved it into a horseshoe configuration because anybody knows the bar business. The horseshoe is the most, conversation savvy.
Absolutely.
Everybody can interact.
Agreed. Yep.
So we did that. And then we got the brown girl. Fran is responsible. What we used to do.
Wait, who's Fran?
Fran is my manager. We affectionately refer to her as the brown girl. She's Guyanese. And the way, that's a good story though. The way that came about was, so I told her she needs to embrace her culture. Like everybody today wants to be offended because somebody, looked at me or said something. No, I'm loud and obnoxious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go figure.
That's not part of our culture in the bar business.
Right,
Yep.
exactly. Go
We're
figure.
ball
I'm
busters.
Irish.
Yep.
She's Guyanese from Indian background culture, and she has beautiful brown skin. That needs to be celebrated.
Sure.
Everyone needs to stop. I'm serious. I don't care if this thing's getting a little political. Everybody needs to shut
you're
the
good. You're
No,
good,
they
brother.
need to shut the F up.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Because you got to celebrate this shit. Like, I'm not exactly like an Italian kid. An Italian kid's not like a Polish kid. We're all different, man. Celebrate the differences. Don't make them out to be something they're not.
Amen.
And that's the way I feel. So anyway, this gorgeous brown girl, she's in my pub. All the girls that work for me are beautiful. And my customers say, oh, Chuck, your girl took care of us. I'm like, well, which one? And they go, well, the pretty one. And I'm like, They're all pretty. And then they get this weird look on their face, you know. And I'm like, you mean the brown girl? And they're like, yeah. And I go, that's Fran. She's the best. So on her business card, it actually says brown girl.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm the loud white guy.
Right. Sure.
I'm not afraid.
That's the thing. I think you're absolutely right. We don't celebrate our differences enough. You know what I mean?
No, come on, man. There's no hate in my heart.
Yep.
I love.
True.
I don't even, now we're a little bit lost. I don't even know
No, that's
where
all right.
we
We
were.
were talking about you renovating the place.
Yeah,
and-
so we renovated it. We got it in the right structure that I wanted. And it's just been so good. Like COVID dropped a bomb on us, you know, this year. And I had wanted to put outside, I have a patio outside, and I wanted to enclose it with some nice canvas awnings, you know, vinyl zip up or roll up. And so because of some of the relief packages that they've done, I've been able to do that. We're pulling the trigger on it literally tomorrow.
That's great.
And hopefully we'll have it in by St. Patty's Day. And that's a pretty funny story. I don't know if you guys want to touch base on that one. That's the when they put out these relief packages and the what's the word I'm looking for? Unemployment. I was like, no, I'm old school, man. I was born
Sure. You don't want any help.
No, I'm probably.
I don't want any help. Absolutely not.
I don't want to help. I
Yep.
won't take it. And one of my buddies looked at me and he goes, "It's your money." He goes, "Chuck, you've been paying taxes for 30 years. This is your money. This year, they're not going to build a road. They're not going to fund the police. They're not going to build a jet. They're going to give it back to you."
Yeah.
And you know what? As soon as he said it, it made sense. And I was like, bring it on.
Yeah.
So I called the brown girl, who's my resident millennial, and said, "Get your ass on that computer and find me as much money as you can find." So we didn't get a lot, but we got enough. And we've been managed to survive.
So what did you take care of programs like PPP or the
did the-
idle loan? The
Yep.
SBA?
We did
Cool.
the PPP. We did the idle loan. Our local Newcastle County did a what they call it, Fran? They called it an outdoor a winter grant.
Nice.
Because they knew that winter was coming, so they were trying to.
That's smart. I mean,
They were trying to give us money, so we're going to get these, you know, like I said, these awnings coming down, and so it basically doubles my dining room.
Sure.
Because I do a lot of food. I'm, you know, even though it's a pub, we have a great scratch kitchen, and we do a lot of dining on Friday and Saturday night. So this doubles my dining room, and you can steal October, November, maybe the first week in December, maybe the last week in January and/or some February, and in March, in April.
Yeah.
So it's worked out real well.
So you're basically in a process of enclosing
Enclosing
your
my
sort
patio.
of your porch patio, right? So you have like, if I remember correctly, you have like these big white pillars, right?
Yes.
Holding probably about a 15-foot, 20-foot sort of overhang.
Yeah. We're about 15 foot overhang.
Or height, I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 12 foot high.
12 foot high, nice.
15 feet off the building.
And how long
And like
is
you
it?
said, we are 12 times 3 was at 36. So we're 36 long by another 26. It's a corner.
Yeah,
or a
right,
corner
right,
lot.
right.
So we can seat an extra 50 people.
I was gonna say it's probably about 800 square.
Yeah,
900 square, something
we
like
can
that.
we can feed. You know, don't do math and you're recording me, Joe. That's not cool.
No, I mean you
Like, I
started.
like the way you're
you started.
thinking,
You said like,
you know,
three
hey.
times something.
Yeah,
32,
3 times 12 is
38.
36. That ain't.
Yeah,
That's pretty
36,
damn
okay.
easy. That's
Do you
a god-
utilize the rooms
That's
there?
a damn yardstick. I can
Hey.
handle a freaking yardstick.
You're
Are
a
you
football
utilizing
guy.
the rooms upstairs?
Yeah, well, they're apartments.
Okay,
They're
okay.
apartments. So, you know, and that was a beautiful thing, the way I was able to put this deal together. When I bought the building, I had absolutely no money. And I knew that there was rent coming in from me. There was a seafood market out back, and there were 4 apartments upstairs. So what I did was I figured out how much 100% occupancy was, and I told the landlord, the owner of the building, I will pay you 100% occupancy for 5 years. Now, that wasn't going to be the mortgage. We settled on the price. The mortgage was a little bit less than that, but everything above that went to the principal. And the nice thing about that was I knew I could handle it, because as long as the tenants were there and as long as I paid my rent, we were good. There were a couple lean months when maybe a guy moved out, But that was the night that I didn't go out to dinner or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you got to bite the bullet.
Yeah, I've not gone out to dinner once.
I get it. I do. Trust me, I get it.
Christ.
But I also grew up relatively modest.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, going out to dinner in my family meant we went to Gino's, which probably nobody even remembers what that was. That was a little restaurant that they sold Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was a competitor of McDonald's.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right,
Gino's restaurant. And I think he was a football player in the 60s or something. But anyway, so I guaranteed him that. And, you know, he agreed and it worked out well. After the 5 years, I went to the bank. But, you know, this is the crazy thing about the business world. So I had been paying, and I'm just going to throw this number out. I've been paying $6,000 for 5 years. To finance what I needed to pay the balloon payment off was going to be $2,700 a month.
Yep.
And they held me over a fire
Get out.
to do that. And I'm like, I've been paying $6,000
Right. Twice as much.
for
More than
5
double.
years.
Yep, more than double.
At what point don't you think I can handle $2,700?
I've been there.
I know.
I'm like, it'll be less money.
Yeah,
And the place
they
is
didn't
getting
get
better.
it. They didn't. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't really understand what you're thinking. So
That's crazy.
Especially when it's the same bank that won't refinance you. You're like,
Yeah,
take my money for longer. Take
yes,
it. I'm getting
then the
3.5%,
other thing
by the
was,
way, bitch.
I said that. Well, I can get the old landlord, the old owner, to write you a letter and show you his bank statements showing you that I've been paying this for 5 years. They go,
On time.
well, that's not important. I'm like, that is the only thing that is important.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
So my dad bought his place off my grandfather, the same place we're in now. He couldn't get. He had no credit. He had a fake driver's license. You know,
Nice.
The man basically didn't exist.
Right.
And he had to go through a loan shark. And the guy walked in the back door. This was like 1971, and he says, you know, I'm looking for. I think it was like $5 or $10 at the time. And he says, do you want to see my bank statement? And he goes, nope. He goes, why not? He goes, I see there's empty beer cases over there. It was returnables at the time.
Right.
He goes, I know how much you're doing a week.
Exactly.
You can do it. And at the end of that note, he said it was one of 5 people that never missed a payment his entire,
Nice.
or was never late. So, but yeah, it's that they're so rough on this business anymore.
That old school mentality.
Yep.
One of my dear friends, Vernon Sesta, he owns Vernon's Cafe in Niles, Ohio, which is just out of Youngstown. Best Italian food. I'm sorry, South Philly, but it's the truth. The best Italian food you ever put in your mouth. Vernon is phenomenal. His dad, Papa Vern, that's what we called him. He came over from the old country. He worked a pizza shop, and then they ultimately opened up this restaurant. Papa Vern comes into my restaurant, in my pub one night, and he orders a whiskey sour. Come on, man, what are you at a wedding? You know what I mean? He gets a whiskey sour, and he's sitting there sipping on it. He goes, Sully, he's still got an Italian accent. Come here. He goes, so you do like, 30, 40 cases, and you do the kegs, and you put a little bit here, and you put a little bit there. And when he was all done, he said, your electric, your gas, your water, your cable. When he was done, he had every number of my business within a couple of dollars.
amazing. Yep.
I said, Papa Vern, if you work for the IRS, I'm screwed, because he was on point, man.
I can imagine that you're
Let
talking
that
about the
out.
mobster presence in that town. I would imagine that it's huge
it's
because if you think Youngstown is the geographical center between New York and Chicago.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. That's exactly how it came
Yep.
about. So it's funny that you said that. And another geographical center of Cleveland and Pittsburgh.
Oh wow.
So yeah, the Naples family.
A lot of envelopes traded off right there.
Yeah, my buddy Phil Naples, there was a great joint. Oh my God, it was called the Golden Dawn, and it was right off of the Youngstown State campus. They had a little bar, and they had the trap door behind the bar, and his grandfather and his uncle, white shirt, tie with the apron, and they would walk down into the basement, pull up a side of beef, bring it up to 78, 84 years old, take it to the kitchen, make the hot roast beef sandwiches. And I would come in like from a Youngstown State game, like after I graduated, all juiced up and excited. And once in a while I'd make the mistake of dropping an F-bomb, and Mr. Naples would be in the corner, Chucky! I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. I apologize. And I'd go sit in the corner. Literally, I'd put myself on timeout
Right.
because I knew Mr. Naples would kill me if I didn't shut up.
That's crazy.
Oh, I loved it. It was the best experience of my life. I will never. There's an old saying that your birthplace is not necessarily the place that you're born, but rather the place that you discover who you are. And I always say my birthplace was Youngstown, Ohio.
Wow. So what's the difference between operating there and on the East Coast?
Well, the first thing I realized is, like, as much as I tell you about the mob connections out there, I think the East Coast is a little bit more open in that you couldn't get anything out there. Like, we get beer coasters and signs and everything. All you had to buy all that out there. Like here,
They're trying to get back to that.
yeah, here the beer companies
It's ridiculous.
give you
Yeah,
a
they
lot
are.
more. They take care of you a lot better. And but the best thing that saved me in business, and I tell this to the companies all the time, in Ohio it is illegal to be on credit. When they drop that beer in your building, you give them a check.
Yeah.
When they drop that whiskey in your building, you give them a check. There's no 30 days, like that. So, and that's what I tell all my vendors. I'm like, I don't want to hear shit. You bring me the whiskey, I give you the money. I don't know you nothing. Like
It's a little Italian and Chuck.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. I'm telling you, I don't play that shit. Because every once in a while, like these guys, the Cintas and them guys want to say, oh, you're on a 3-year contract. I go, I ain't on shit.
Right.
You bring me the product, I give you the money. The day I don't like the product, you keep the product, and I don't give you no more money. I'm on nobody's contract. And I'm adamant about that.
That's
And
true.
She'll tell you.
That makes sense.
So,
what's COVID been like for you, Chuck?
COVID was wonderful. COVID was the best thing that ever happened to my old, tired Irish ass. So the day before St. Patty's Day, the United States government decided to...
Black Sunday. Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Black Sunday was on Monday for me. Tuesday, St. Patty's Day. St.
No,
Patty's Day
I
was
know,
17th.
but yeah.
All I know is the government showed up with no lube, and it wasn't pleasant.
Yeah.
I made $128 on St. Patty's Day because we were technically closed, but 5 friends that felt pity for me showed up and tried to at least spend $20 each.
I think
That's
I think
math, right?
my till was almost identical to that, like 115.
We watched The Quiet Man with John Wayne. Oh, I don't give a damn about
Sad,
your
wasn't it
dowry.
sad? God damn.
So, but seriously, as terrible as it sounds, there was some aid coming. I was able to put all my bills on hold, and I did nothing, man. I sat on my couch, and I got up, and I had breakfast and coffee, and then I made myself a drink, and then I took a nap, and then I had another drink, and then I rinsed and repeated for 2.5 months, and I didn't do anything.
I thought you were talking about St. Patty's morning.
No, I'm talking about for 2.5 months.
Rinse and repeat.
But
That's
it
great.
was wonderful. And but when I came out of it, I was re-energized. You know what I mean? I was ready to go and start to get back to work again.
You know, I think a lot of people took it that way. It's either like you're gonna let it kick your ass, or you're gonna start kicking ass from it. You know,
There is a line out of Full Metal Jacket that I described COVID at that time. It's a huge shit sandwich, and we're all going to have to take a bite. And I thought to myself, I am an optimist, but I thought no one is going to be able to burn me because we're all in it together.
sure.
Like, it's not like I'm by myself and I'm screwing up. We're all screwed.
Right.
Yeah.
I could be, hey, if we're all screwed, I can be screwed better than most. I can handle this. Like, I'm good at that. So
Yeah.
that's the way I took it.
Resilience.
Absolutely.
So so we talked a little bit about some of the renovating that you got going on. So you're doing the outside patio area, right?
Right.
And then you have that whole courtyard where you do music and everything?
Yeah, well, that's actually on our town square.
Right, okay.
And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give the building a little bit more of a facelift. It already looks great.
It does.
But I've got a vision. I want to get black and white. I want the awning black, the shutters black, the building either light gray and white. Like, I like a real classic traditional look. The pillars all painted white with these nice new black awnings. And it just needs to be refreshed. It just needs to be clean and refreshed. But I have 2 units in the back that have been stagnant for a while. And I've recently come up with some ideas of how we can incorporate them into Sully's. And and one of my dear friends who's in the construction business is temporarily out of work. So he's like, dude, I'm your guy. You know what I mean? So we've been in there every day. I mean, I've worked 14 hours a day for the last 5 days in a row, And I don't mind. Like, I love it because we're getting things done.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
That's great.
So tell me what's happening in Middletown. Like, I've been only coming down there
God.
6 years, and it's like, I'm pretty sure that last time I came in, these were all like farms.
Right.
And now there's like, sometimes I go in where it's like 4 circles, but there's nothing around the circles. I'm like, were these crop circles put here by aliens?
There will be, there'll be something around it.
I grew up down there in the summer times, and I remember where you're talking farms, nothing but. The only thing that was on that road was Money's. Do you remember Money's?
Yeah. Oh,
That's it.
still there.
That's all that was there.
Our mayor, Kenny Branner, he was our police chief, our fire chief. He grew up, he was the captain of the high school football team. He has been our mayor for 30 years. Our vice mayor, his best friend, Jimmy Reynolds, has been our vice mayor for 30 years. These men have been born, raised, and grew up in this town. They saw it coming. They knew that the urban sprawl of Philadelphia and New York, escaping taxes, were going to come, and they were ready. And they didn't just bring in restaurants, they brought in industry, Johnson Control, Amazon. Johnson Control is the battery place. There's another company that it's more, it's not just restaurants, it's industry.
Sure, industry, yeah.
And so it's doing well. There's some traffic issues, but come on, man, what are you going to, what I mean? It's
what
called
about the
growing
train?
pains.
Aren't they talking about like taking the train that comes all the way into Philadelphia?
Yeah,
The R2?
Yeah. They're
Oh
talking
my
about
God, that's phenomenal.
And that train
From
goes right by
Wilmington?
Marty McGee's. Like,
it
we're
does,
from,
yeah.
And it's just, the man is, I mean, whenever anybody criticizes him, I laugh. I go, his kids live in the town. He lived in the town. His grandkids live in the town. The guy's doing what he thinks is best. Like, everybody needs to pump the brakes. The world we live in today with Instagram and the internet, everybody needs to relax. Everybody's too busy to criticize. It's very easy to criticize behind a keyboard.
Right.
I've had some social media backlash, and the joke I say is, I said, do you know how many times I responded to it? 0. Do you know how many people were man enough to come talk to me face to face? 0.
Yep.
So if you want to be a little bitch and criticize me on Instagram,
Keyboard
I don't
cowboy.
really care. But you
call
want to
them
be a
keyboard
man, I'll have a
cowboys.
conversation with anybody.
So what's the backlash he's getting? There's too much sprawl. There's
The
schooling.
traffic, but we're building schools.
Yeah.
Well, a great story. So when I first opened a place in 2009, my new vending guy, Adam Gagliardi, the place is destroyed. I'm ripping out the drop ceilings. The air conditioning units are laying on the barroom floor. And he goes, boy, you really hit a home run, kid. I'm like, come on, man, I'll put this place back together. He goes, no, I really mean it. He goes, you hit a home run. I go, what do you mean? He said, everywhere in the country, they're tearing down Catholic churches. You found the only town that built a new one, and it's huge.
Holy shit.
And they're building schools. If you're building churches
St.
and
Joe's,
schools,
right?
St. Joe's,
Yeah.
yep. If you're building churches and schools, town's going this way, and
That's a good point.
Yep, and I'm very excited. I'd like them to stop. We have everything we need. We got Chipotle.
Right.
We got Home Depot, Lowe's, Wally World. What are we missing? We ain't got nothing. We ain't missing nothing.
What was the population when you went into the town?
When I went into town, it was like 13,000. It's like 26 now. Yeah, it's doubled. And when my buddy Chris Slaughter was there, it was only 3,000. On Main Street, where Sully's is, they used to play baseball in Main Street like a backcountry road, and they would play for 20 minutes and then go, car, and everybody would scramble, and then they'd get back in Main Street again, and they'd play for another 20 minutes.
I remember there was a luncheonette. There was the Everett Theater, right?
The Everett Theater.
That's still there, right?
Yep. We
A
have
dollar store, and that was it, really.
Yeah, we have one of the original Everett Theater signs hanging in the pub.
That's right, yeah.
We haven't talked about Sully's, and not that I want to do my own horn, but Sully's is the Museum of Middletown. We have original pieces of the time period throughout the years, and we also have a timeline of 1761 to 1844, 1844 to 1946, 1946. 1947, 2009, in the present day. So it's really I'm not saying because it's mine. I'm proud.
So speaking of history, I love the Thomas Jefferson situation.
So I've got a place for about 3 or 4 years. Everybody kept talking about a George Washington visit, but they were just so matter of fact. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm sure he slept everywhere. One day, a guy comes in with a book, and it says Thomas Jefferson, an American tourist. And he goes, dude, turn to page 267. So I flip it over, and it says, attending the Continental Congress of 1775, and it was quotes from his journal. June 11th, 1775, left Williamsburg for Philadelphia. He's getting ready to go to the Continental Congress to decide if we're going to be a country. June 12th, June 13th, June 4th, June 20th. Paid service at Middletown Witherspoon's for lodging, serve it at due. Documented that he stopped at our tavern
Amazing.
and probably talked to the customers. Hey, we're getting ready to overthrow this government. What do you guys think? You know, like how cool is that?
Gives me chills, bro.
Yeah, I know. It was so
Gives
cool.
me chills.
So I did a bunch of research, and now we have, like, Philadelphia people understand this. We have one of those blue and gold historical markers in front of our building, and this is the one time you're going to hear me brag. Those are my words. So when I called the Delaware Archives, they were like, "Well, yeah, just give us what you have, and you know, we'll do the research, and we'll see." I said, "I already did the research," and they're like, "All right, cool." And so we'll write something up. I go, "I already wrote it."
But that's a national, or is it
Delaware.
Okay.
They're called the Delaware Roadside Historical Markers.
Okay.
But I sent all of it to them, and they changed a couple things and then sent it back. But it's roughly my words. So now my legacy to my son is this historical marker in front of this building that we own. And like I said, they're my words. Like 30 years from now, when I'm in the ground, he can ride by and say, "Man, my daddy wrote that."
Does that up your property value, having that marker?
I don't know.
Joe, you might know that.
It ups my ego.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not a jealous type dude, but I think that's fucking amazing. I really
Hey,
do.
listen, I'm jealous of this son of a
Oh,
bitch.
he kicks ass,
Get
right?
out of here.
Because he, it's ridiculous. And you are just the most affable, amazing person on the planet.
Affable.
There's not a single person in the world that doesn't meet this guy that doesn't love him.
You ever meet my wife?
No, they got to see the picture of you and him as Cliff.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That was beautiful.
That is good.
So, no, everything's been good, guys. I appreciate you having me in here today.
Yeah, man.
The thing that people don't, I sent my parents to Ireland about 20 years ago. And it was really funny because we were the family on the block that was the most gregarious and friendly. And everybody comes to the house on Sunday to eat dinner. And when my dad was in Ireland, he sent me a postcard and he goes, "Thank you for the trip." He goes, "I know now why we are the way we are."
Wow.
Because he got to see the people that we come from.
Sure.
We would give you the shirt off our back. We'll punch you in the mouth if we don't like the way you're talking. But after we get done punching you in your mouth, if you start to agree with us, we'll buy you a beer. And I could not be more proud to be in this circle and to be a Mick and be with you two. So
Sweet, man.
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
What part of the country, if you don't mind me?
I'm Limerick and Clare. Yep.
Limerick's an interesting town.
Yes. The lanes of Limerick.
Yep. Frank McCourt's town. Right?
Yes, that's what I was just getting ready to say. He knew my uncle or my grandfather.
I met him one time when his second book came out, Tis.
Tis,
Of course,
yep.
like everybody read Angel's Ashes. I thought it was
Yes.
amazing. I was in Providence, Rhode Island, and the book came out that day. I bought it at the Brown University bookstore, and I came home. I'm sitting in my couch, and I picked up the Providence Journal, and I'm reading Frank McCourt's doing a book signing. It's literally a mile from my apartment.
Gotta go.
$300, black tie event, blah, 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 blah. It was a dinner. So I snuck there. I got in line as he was doing autographs after his little thing. And I got up and they're like, "No, you can't talk to the man, blah, 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 blah." He's sitting next to his wife. He's got a glass of wine in front of him. And I'm the only one that's not dressed there, And I go up and I was getting ready to move to Ireland like a year later. And I said, "Mr. McCourt, I'm getting ready to move to Ireland. Where should I go?" He says, "Go to Galway. It's gorgeous." And they're trying to rush me along, and I'm trying to talk to him, and the security comes over and is like, "Sir, you're going to move it along." So I grab the book, and I walk away, and as I'm about 10 feet away, he says, "Hey, Patrick," and I turn around, and he goes, "And you find yourself a good Irish virgin," and his wife slapped him right across the face.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
Very cool. Very cool. I called him. I found the book Angela's Ashes Youngstown played for the national championship, I want to say in, I don't know, 90. When did I get done? I got done probably 93. And we went down to Boise, Idaho, and I was on this little plane, and I see that, I don't know why, I don't read. I see this little paperback, and this is ugly. It was when the movie had come out. It was a little ugly faced boy. And for some reason, I pick it up, and I'm like, and I read the jacket, and I'm like, man, this sounds like my family.
Yeah.
So I buy it, $1.79 in the airport, like airport of a puddle jumper. And I buy it, and I read it, and I like, oh my God, I lost my mind. So then I did a little bit of research, and this is pre-internet, and I called him, and I got him on the phone. I said, Mr. McCourt, your book came to me at a very crossroads of my life and time, and I just wanted to tell you how much it meant to me and how much, you sharing your life and your experiences. And I said, my grandfather was from Limerick, Marty Noonan. And he goes, that was a Noonan family down the street from me, And I'm like, we get to chit-chat. He goes, I don't know, but I think I might have known your Uncle Martin. My grandfather, actually, but, So it was cool. It was just so nice that I got to talk. I can say I talked to him just like you did,
cool. A lot of my mother couldn't get through that book. It rang too true to her.
Yeah.
With the alcoholic father, and just she had to put it down.
I get it.
Yep.
I get it. It
wild.
was very. Fran read it. She couldn't put it down. She read it in 3 days. You know what I mean? And my nieces and my nephews have read it, and my sisters read it, and my mother read it. Like once I read it, I gave it to the rest of my family.
Yeah.
So it's kind of became a family heirloom to All right. My buddy Boona from Youngstown. He's a sports writer. Used to be a sports writer for the Akron Beacon Journal. He goes, yeah, it's your freaking rite of passage.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that went through the Irish American culture like every.
He goes, I got to read Malcolm.
Like a bonfire.
He was a black guy. He goes, I got to read Malcolm X. He goes, you got to read Angela's Ashes. I'm like, yeah, Buddha, that's close.
That's great. So let me ask you, are you promoting it all during COVID?
Promoting what?
Exactly.
No. I think I know what you mean.
Yeah.
No, that's
the toughest part, right?
the shitty part of it.
Yes.
I am P.T. Barnum, and I can't say anything. Mr. Barnum, do you have a circus? I 30%, I think. I don't know, but we have to close at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
I think us operators that are in this that are good at what we do, we all have a little bit of a P.T. Barnum in us, and that's what we love to do is promote.
It is my favorite thing to do.
Come up with crazy ideas.
Well, one of the
Stupid
things you
shit,
guys asked me to talk about is like, what was the best promotion?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't the best one I've ever seen, but I thought it was amazing. So I'm in Cincinnati, outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, but we're near the Great Lakes, close enough. And there was a brewery, and one of their beers was called the Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. And everyone probably remembers the Moody Blues, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Or Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon Lightfoot,
Back home in Derry.
Yes.
Somebody stole it from
Yes,
somebody.
you are correct.
It's
Yes.
exactly the same exact.
It's the same too. But Gordon Lightfoot, I apologize. You're correct. But anyway, so what they did was the anniversary of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, they put that porter on tap, and they had a party, and every third song they sang that song. But the place was wall to wall. It was their St. Patty's Day. And I thought to myself, that's what you do. You make a party out of
nothing.
nothing.
Yes.
Vapor.
I mean, it reminds me of a story.
Mist in the air.
So when I first opened up
I love it.
the original Sully's, the walls were beige. The place was shitty. And I said, look, we're going to paint this place hunter green. We're going to stain the wood dark, the knee rail up, the chair rail up. And my buddy goes, all right, well, what's your slowest day? And he goes, we'll come in and we'll paint the place. And I'm like, we're going to paint on Friday night. Because at the time, I hadn't built the business yet. We weren't that busy even when we were busy.
Nice.
And he's like, what do you mean you're going to paint on your busiest night? I go, absolutely. He goes, dude, I'm going to be standing on the bar. There's going to be a customer. I'm going to say, yo, Joey, hand me that paintbrush. And then 3 months later, he's going to say, yeah, I remember when I helped Sully paint this place. And that's what you do. You make the best out of the worst.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that is something you can't teach. That is Irish culture.
Absolutely.
The shit hit the fan. Well, you better turn the fan around. That's all I can figure.
We at Dolan's, I needed new bar stools, and we had the same bar stools for 50 years. So I bought them. I forget where I got them. Doesn't matter. But what am I going to do with the old ones? I signed them all and sold them.
Yes.
Every single one of them. And each one I sold was the last one. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
Have one kept
This
for
is
me.
the last. Oh, and you
Save me
signed.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Ass has sat on this seat for 50 years in Dolan's or whatever. you know.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God.
I'll get the next patch in 50 years from now. I'll still be kicking. You know that.
Yeah, you'll be the only one.
Probably.
I wake up every morning going, yes. Oh, my poor kid. I got a son. He's 7 years old, and I just
Charlie.
Man. Yeah,
Tell us about Charlie. How's he
the
doing?
beast. He's doing great. He's thriving.
yet?
He's thriving in COVID. Man, no, he's only 7. I'm not putting him. That's what I hate about football, man. Like you talk to anybody that actually played, their necks are too small,
What
man.
position?
High school.
Were you?
I was a wide receiver. I played quarterback in high school and a wide receiver in college. But it's just, I love the sport. I would die for the sport, but it's not for kids. I don't think anybody should play before they're 12, 13 years old. Like, you got to develop your body, you know. Soccer, as much as I hate it, that's a sport for kids. You know what I mean?
Or baseball?
Ugh. Yeah, right. Anything non-contact, exactly. So, but I just the problem with this business, and I know you two know it. It's in your blood. You know what I mean? You
Can't leave it.
You either gravitate towards it, like McGillen's in Philadelphia, or there's Mortson's in Dayton, Ohio. My place in Delaware. That's what I want my place to become. Right. I want my place to become the iconic place that you go. Marty McGee's. Yep. Your place, man. Like it's just joints. I like joints. Oh my God! When we went to go buy the canopies, we went through 2 just neighborhood dives. There was nobody there because it was 11 o'clock in the morning and it's COVID. But me and my buddy are looking at each other going, I like past Blue Ribbon.
Where was this at?
This was on our way to Denton, Maryland.
Denton? Yeah,
Denton, Maryland. Yeah. But I mean, dude, these were just.
What were the names of them? Do you remember?
No, I don't. But I
matter.
can find them.
It doesn't matter.
I can sniff a neighborhood.
Yeah.
So Charlie's mother and I spent Christmas Eve one year at a place called O'Malley's in the Alley in Cincinnati, right in the heart of Cincinnati. Do you know why they call it O'Malley's in the Alley? Because it's in a friggin' alley. We were all dressed up. We went to see the Nutcracker at the Grand Opera of Cincinnati. We went to the thing, and on our way, walking back to the car, I go, I think there's a neighborhood dive somewhere.
You can smell the stale beer, right?
And I looked down the alley. She goes, I'm not walking down there. I go, you're with me. You're all right. We walk in. It was awesome. And there you go. You got the mistletoe hanging up over the jukebox. And there was a kid behind the bar from the old country. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, everybody thinks that the neighborhood bar is a dying breed, but I disagree. I really do.
I still think that, but we're hanging on hard.
Yeah.
The guys who are hanging on hard.
Sure. Dying on the hill.
Yep.
Dying on the hill.
I will die with my crusty bones holding on. Oh, goodness.